Hello, my name is William McCollum. I'm an Informatics Senior here at Indiana University Southeast. I'm graduating in the spring semester of 2013. Today I'm going to be introducing you and preparing you for the Informatics Capstone here at IUS. Well, I bet a lot of you are wondering what exactly the Capstone class is. Well, as it states on the slide here, the Capstone is the peak of your informatics degree and learning experience. You will then learn different technologies that are needed to work in a group. We will then learn how to work as a team on a real project. You will then learn the necessary skills to successfully manage a product. And you will also work with a stakeholder and gain experience in the workplace. These are all necessities in how you will need to further your career in the informatics program. Next up, I'm going to be discussing what classes you need to take before you enter the Capstone project. From personal experience, the two most important ones are I-300, which is Human-Computer Interaction, and I-308, which is Information Representation. These two classes will teach you the basics on how to search databases and create a design for the average user. This is even more important considering the fact that both the project and the content manager you will be using involves both these classes. The I-300 is more important because you will be designing for a stakeholder. And the stakeholder may or may not be incredibly versatile in how to use technology or how to update their website. I-308 is a little bit less important depending on what type of project you will be working on. The content manager you will most likely be using uses MySQL. And I-308 will teach you the basics on how to use MySQL, or SQL as a coding language in general. Secondly, I-330, Legal and Social Informatics of Security, is also fairly important. This teaches you the basics of internet law. It tells you how to make the right decisions, how to research what you cannot do, as well as look into the legal problems it would take to possibly use copyrighted material and so on. So these three classes are incredibly important for you to take. In I-300 is the most important. It's even actually considered a requirement for this class. And it is very rare that the professor will let you into the capstone unless you have taken I-300 first. Next up, we're going to be talking about project management and how it relates to the capstone project. While you are in class during the capstone project, you will be learning the basics on how to become a project manager, even if you are not assigned that role. It will teach you the most important basics on how to manage a small team. This includes applying the right jobs to the right team members, as well as planning ahead. Planning ahead includes risk management, budget management, schedule management, and time management. The project management part in the capstone class also heavily focuses on the skills of a project manager. In class, you will be doing side projects that make the student think outside the box on solving open problems. Groups will then also take on tasks that involve the whole team to finish, and you will also deal with the risks and issues that arise on a project in an appropriate manner. Risk management is heavily talked about in the class because of the fact that it will basically ruin your project if you have a set schedule. So you will have to learn the risks and the issues and then work around them to fit your budget and schedule as appropriate. Next up is design. This is incredibly important because if your group does not get a graphic design focused member, someone needs to know at least the basics of design. As mentioned earlier, the I-300 class, which is Human-Computer Interaction, it is mandatory that you take this class so that anybody can learn how to design a website or a interface needed for the average user. You do this so you can learn brainstorming, design between a normal user and an expert user, paper prototyping, and the basics of design layout. The second on the list, the design between a normal user and an expert user, is the top priority, mostly because you're going to be designing for a stakeholder who may or may not have experience in a computer. So you're going to want to make a design for your project that any normal person can use, as well as any normal person can update. Next up, we're going to be talking about content managers. For your project, which will be most likely building a website for a nonprofit organization, you will need to know what a contact manager is, as well as the backends or backdoor systems. The description of a content manager, as pulled from Wikipedia, is the set of processes and technologies that support the collection, managing, and publishing of information in any form or medium. In recent times, this information is typically referred to as content, or to be precise, digital content. Digital content may take the form of text, such as electronic documents, multimedia files, such as audio and video files, or any other file type that follows a content lifecycle requiring management. The Capstone project in general will be focused on a website content. You will be storing and using the content managers for your website to keep all the information you want up and ready for the stakeholder to change or use, as well as update. Continue on with content managers. In the Capstone project, which content manager you use will vary depending on the instructor. Dr. Ramachandran prefers that you use Joomla as your content manager because of the ease of use it is for the stakeholder. However, Dr. Kimmer, who will be taking over the course in some aspects, will be using a different one. I have not discussed with him which one he plans on using, but since there are many out there, there's a variety of choices that Dr. Kimmer could choose. However, when Dr. R is teaching the class, you will be using Joomla as your content manager. As mentioned before, it is important to use a content manager because of the ease of use for the stakeholder to use after the page is built, not because of the ease of use for the team. As the person who made the website for my particular project, it does take a bit of time to learn how to use the backend or backdoor of Joomla, mostly because of the PHP and the coding process needed to change how the website looks. So expect to sit down and spend some time learning the backend of a content manager. You will need to spend at least 2 or 3 weeks just learning how to use it yourself before you can even build your website. Continuing on with the content managers, I'll be discussing at least 2 of them here, as well as showing you what Joomla looks like, at least in the backend or backdoor area. Of course, Joomla has been discussed. Joomla is the preferred content manager for Dr. Ramachandran or Dr. R. It is a free open source content manager that uses PHP as its coding. It stores all the data in a MySQL server and is available for use in most online service providers. Again, Joomla, as mentioned before, is the preferred use one because of how easy it is to teach the stakeholder that you are working with how to update the website and the content inside the website. The second one here is WordPress. You will not be using WordPress unless Dr. Kimmer decides on it as his preferred content manager. However, WordPress is one of the most popular content managers on the web because it is so easy to use on websites, more particularly blogs and journals. It's also free and open source and available for use. Next up, I'll be showing you here the back end of a Joomla webpage, and I won't be going into too much detail about it, but I just wanted to give you a show of it. This is the backdoor area to the Joomla interface, one of the content managers that I will be discussing throughout the slides here. Get to learn this very well. It also depends on what sort of professor that you have, but Dr. Ramachandran prefers that you would use Joomla overall because of the simplicity it is for the user to update it.
Now, you in general will be learning what the article manager, category manager, media manager, all that stuff is uh, when you enter the class. Uh, Dr. R will give you the necessary information needed to watch videos and so on to learn what Joomla does, how it works, and such. Um, but in general, it is mostly used for the stakeholder themselves. It is the stakeholder that will learn how to add an article, add a category, how to update them, stuff like that. It's incredibly simple, and you as a capstone slash project manager will have to take the time, sit down with them, and actually teach them how to update it. Um, More particular, if you have a business analyst, the business analyst will be sitting down with the project manager as well to make an instruction manual to make their way through the back door here at Joomla. From there, then you can teach the stakeholder how to use the content manager to update their site. I won't be getting into much detail on how you as a um, group will be using it to make the website, but I am mentioning this because you will be using the information you've taken from the human computer interaction course and teaching the stakeholder how to update your site.
At the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned risk and risk management. Right here, I'll be discussing what can possibly go wrong with your capstone project, mostly because I want you to be ready for what can actually go wrong with your project. We went into this fairly blind, and we, as our group in particular, we actually had very little in the ways of problems with our group and stakeholder, at least at first. So, at first here, actually there can and will be many issues that will come up. And I will be giving some examples here of what happened this year. First off, my particular group had scheduling problems. It is recommended by Dr. Ramachandran that you only take the capstone class. However, some students will pick it up while they are doing full-time classes. This includes me and a few others in our group. This limits the amount of time the group can actually meet to discuss or work on the project itself. This can cause problems because it will limit the amount of time that you can actually work on it, as well as perhaps give a part of the project to a team member who isn't as strong in that particular aspect. Continue on with what could possibly go wrong. I'm going to be discussing what could go wrong with the content manager. As mentioned in the scheduling issue, there is the possibility that the programming portion of the website could get put into the hands of somebody who has the most time. This could lead to many problems with the content manager itself because of the fact that one wrong move can completely destroy all the work you've done unless you have backed up your website. However, one particular group had to do their website multiple times. If I remember correctly, they actually had to start over at least 6 or 7 times because Joomla decided to mess up at the slightest change inside the code. Next up is possible teammate issues. While as a class itself, we actually had no problems with teammates. Everyone seemed to do their job appropriately. However, there have been incidents in the past where people have not pulled their own weight, and this could lead to conflicts within the group. These conflicts are then settled by the professor in charge to remove that particular person from the group and force that person to make their own project in the end. Lastly, a issue that has actually happened to my group later on, there is an incident with a stakeholder. Our stakeholder was rather hard to get a hold of, as well as another incident that kind of got placed at the end. Listed here on the PowerPoint, you can see that there's the possibility that the stakeholder could cancel the project. The stakeholder could get fired, which actually happened to our stakeholder. The stakeholder could look at the website that you had finished and want something completely different, or the stakeholder will lose contact with the group and you will not be able to get a hold of them. In each particular incident here, the group manager will need to either contact the group in charge of the stakeholder or sit down with the stakeholder if he or she is still around and try and figure out how to stay in contact with them to fix the possible incident. Again, these are all risks that could possibly go wrong. In conclusion of our discussion here, always look ahead. Take the classes you know will help. I-300, I-308, I-330. These are all classes that will help you with the Capstone project. Learn what a content management system is. Look ahead and take a look at what Joomla does. Learn what it can do. Know your personal skill set. At the beginning of the very first class, you will be put into a group and you will be placed into a particular job. If you think you're a good project manager, say I want to be a project manager. If you're a graphic designer, be a graphic designer. If you're a business background, become a business analyst. Know your skill set. Plan to get your classes out of the way before taking the Capstone class. If you can take the Capstone class by itself, you will have a good time. Even if you have a 40-hour-a-week job, make sure you can try and get to the class. Make sure that you have time to work on it. This class will suck your life out of you. Learn what a project manager actually does. Knowing what a project manager actually does ahead of time will help you with the in-class projects. Also, know how to simplify design. Not everyone is a skilled user of a computer. You will need to try and build a design that any normal person can use. Then finally, learn what risks are involved in a project. The risks involved can actually ruin a project if they get out of hand. Now, to discuss what happens at the end of a capstone course, each of the passing students will have to learn how to synthesize research and curriculum concepts from an undergraduate info core courses in cognate areas. Focus on your cognate. You will be getting into the field of that particular cognate that you have been learning, and you will try and figure out the technologies and how to improve on them. You will then need to also synthesize how coursework has influenced one's professional development. You will want to know how you have grown in this field. The more you grow in this field, the more you know. The more you know, the more that you can improve on it. Be prepared with both technical and business skills that are necessary for informaticians. This is pretty much self-explanatory. You will need to know both the tech side and business side, so you can talk to both the person programming as well as the user who wants to build the project itself. The capability to formulate practical solutions for companies through comprehensive analysis of an organization. Again, this also kind of says itself. You will need to sit down and look at every possible solution for that company you are working for. If there's a problem that arises that they want you to fix in a particular program, you will need to figure out and discuss with the technical side on how to solve that problem. And you will need to have a list of possible solutions for him to discuss with. Finally, you will also need to design, develop, and deliver an informatics project successfully. This is a group effort. The project manager is in charge, yes, but everyone needs to do their job, do it on schedule, and within budget. If someone keeps pushing back a project, the budget grows. When the budget grows, the person in charge of the project will get in trouble with the person above them. It's more or less you doing everything on time and successfully. You will also need to integrate theories learned in previous info courses to real industry problems. You will do in-class projects that will help you learn this. It is these in-class projects that will put you into the head of a project manager and how in a problem that has occurred, such as budget. You will then apply conceptual frameworks and global best practices to informatics project management challenges. Again, this is learned in class. The projects that Dr. Ramachandran gave us will help you get into the head of a project manager and what challenges they face. You will then finally need to demonstrate knowledge of the relationship between lifelong learning and informatics career development and progression. This is just the start of your informatics learning experience. You are just learning the basics now. Once you get into the real world, you will be learning for the rest of your life. This is more like a teacher. However, whenever you teach, you are teaching to the technical side and the business side. From this, I will conclude my podcast. I hope you guys have learned a lot and hope you enjoy the Capstone project as it comes in your senior year. Thank you.